Good evening. I hereby call to order the Board of Directors rescheduled meetings of New Jersey Transit Corporation, New Jersey Transit Rail Operations, Inc., New Jersey Transit Bus Operations, Inc., New Jersey Transit Mercer, Inc., and New Jersey Transit Morris, Inc.
At this time, Dick Heumann will deliver the public safety announcement.
Good evening. At New Jersey Transit, your safety is our highest priority. Please listen to these safety instructions in case of an emergency. If there is an emergency, announcements will be made over the loudspeaker or by a uniformed police officer. The primary exit for this location is the stairwell, located in a lobby adjacent to the elevators. There's also a second staircase over here in case you need to exit the location. New Jersey Transit Police will call for additional assistance, administer CPR, and use the defibrillator, which is located out by the elevators if necessary. There are fire extinguishers located in the back and the front of this room. Please be guided by the directions of New Jersey Transit Police and their staff. Have a safe evening and have a nice day. Thank you.
Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Chair Gutierrez, Scacchetti, and board members. For the record, Board Member Greaves will be participating by telephone. I will now take roll call. Chair Gutierrez, Scacchetti. Here. Board Member Caulfield. Here. Board Member Ajmani. Here. Board Member Castillo. Here. Board Member Greaves.
Here.
Thank you. Next is the open public meetings notice. Adequate notice of today's rescheduled meetings of the Board of Directors of the New Jersey Transit Corporation, New Jersey Transit Rail Operations, New Jersey Transit Bus Operations, New Jersey Transit Mercer, and New Jersey Transit Morris has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and Public Law 2018, Chapter 162. The meetings will occur concurrently. Notices were filed on February 7, 2019 with the Secretary of State. These notices were sent to newspapers of general distribution, posted in the main entrance of New Jersey Transit headquarters, published on the corporation's website, and sent each individual, agency, and organization that requested such notice. The meetings are viewable on the corporation's website in real time and will be video recorded, archived, and made available to the public. Minutes will also be archived and published on the website.
Thank you, Joyce. May I have a motion to enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters, contract negotiations, the status of pending and anticipated litigation, and matters falling within the attorney-client privilege? May I have a motion to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. We shall return shortly. I hereby reconvene the open session board meetings. Joyce, would you please take roll call?
Roll call. Chair Gutierrez Gacchetti. Board Member Caulfield. Board Member Ajmani. Board Member Castillo. Board Member Greaves. He'll be
Here.
Thank you.
To approve the minutes of the January 4th, 2019 and January 16th, 2019 board meetings.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Joyce, are there any comments from the public?
Yes, we have a group of speakers on behalf of the Atlantic City Rail Line, 15 speakers, and I'd just like to remind everyone our protocol is speakers, in order to give everyone an opportunity to be heard, comments will be limited to 5 minutes. If there are several people speaking on the same topic, 2 speakers will have 5 minutes to provide comments, and all other speakers will have 2 minutes to provide comments. We'll go to the group on behalf of the Atlantic City Rail Line first, and the first speaker is James Thornton.
Thank you. My name is James Thornton. I commuted on the Atlantic City Rail Line until its abrupt closure right after Labor Day last September, and have been commuting by means to and from my work in Philadelphia, not operated by New Jersey Transit since that date. New Jersey Transit must restore Atlantic City Rail service at the earliest opportunity. NJ Transit must not restart service at any level less than what was operated up to last September's abrupt shutdown. Instead, NJT must add trips to the line, including restoring Philadelphia-oriented trips that were cut out of the schedules as far back as January of 2010. NJ Transit must not reduce or curtail any service to Philadelphia, shortchanging that commuter intercity destination and travel market. Neither NJ Transit nor commuter group should ever blithely dismiss the rail line's Philadelphia passengers to riding the Patco high-speed line between Lindenwold and Philadelphia. Patco is too often South Jersey's version of the problematic PATH rail system, with breakdowns, crowding, delays, and evidently uncaring management and staff willing to let it happen. Patco stops more than 1 mile short of Amtrak's 30th Street station, which was directly served by NJ Transit's Atlantic City line, forcing transfer to a third rail system with a third fare due and payable to even reach 30th Street station to make Amtrak or SEPTA regional rail connections or access much of Philadelphia. Now see the numbers of riders to and from Philadelphia on the Atlantic City line. I was one of those Philadelphia riders up to the last day of service the day after Labor Day last September. I was one of those riders forced onto shuttle buses ordered on minutes' notice or organized in advance to convey rail passengers between Cherry Hill and Philadelphia. For my monthly rail fare, I'd get a bus ride. Because the Delaware Railroad Bridge between Penn, and Philadelphia would be stuck in the open position or fail to close properly after being raised to allow rivership traffic underneath it. The Delaware Bridge is the Atlantic City Rail Line's version of the Hudson River tunnels. Freight trains operated by Conrail, Norfolk Southern, and CSX also use that bridge. A fraction of Atlantic City Rail supporters, to use the term loosely, plus other observers point to the Delaware Bridge to justify curtailing or limiting Philadelphia service possibly increasing trip frequency within New Jersey by turning or some or even most trips at Penn, Salkin, Cherry Hill, or Lindenwold. When supporters of such rail curtailment are disputed by Philadelphia passengers, they vaguely suggest Patco cross-honoring of NJ Transit tickets and passes. NJ Transit needs to stop seeing more and more of its rail and bus lines as unconscionable liabilities and burdens. It's getting to the mode of, quote, too big to fail, or simply, quote, too big. If this mindset continues, a crisis, blame, non-accountability, rinse, repeat.
Thank you. The next speaker is Christoph Wilson.
Hi, I just wanted to let you know that how this stoppage has been impacting just regular people who are just trying to get to work or get to wherever they need to go, like the hospital or anywhere like that, and how it has affected us. And it seems like there could be no end in sight by the way you notify people at the last minute or not at all, or you just plain distort the facts. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is William Ritzler.
Good evening. My name is Bill Ritzler. I'm the Vice President of the Delaware Valley Association of Rail Passengers. To the Board Secretary, an electronic copy of this text is available on the website www.dvarp.org on a link on the main page.
Thank you.
As a locally based organization with many decades representing the interests of rail passengers in the South Jersey region, the Delaware Valley Association of Rail Passengers wishes to express our extreme frustration and dissatisfaction with the ongoing suspension of the Atlantic City Rail Line service that began in September of 2018, and also with the continuing process of procrastination and deferral being utilized by New Jersey Transit to delay restoration of service. Among the many issues that we find to be problematic are the need to suspend all service given the previous policy of implementing only a partial shutdown in the recent past, the failure to restore service within the original time frame, the persistent failure to identify, let alone commit to, a firm date for restoration of service, and the continually shifting explanations justifying the continued suspension of ACRL service and the complete lack of meaningful updates at various points in time. The content and process of New Jersey Transit's communication to the public concerning ACRL suspension of service has resulted in a severe strain in the credibility of the organization, to the point that we feel it is almost no longer existing. In tandem with other issues related and unrelated, New Jersey Transit has succeeded in antagonizing virtually every constituency and stakeholder in the state. We believe that the status quo is completely unacceptable. New Jersey Transit must focus now on restoring service to the Atlantic City Rail Line. With this in mind, the Delaware Valley Association of Rail Passengers requests that the New Jersey Transit Board of Directors take the following actions. 1. Issuance of a directive to staff to identify and publicly announce a firm date for the restoration of full ACRL service. Issuance of a directive to staff to resume service between Lindenwold and Atlantic City on or before March 1st, 2019. And finally, issuance of a directive to staff to review all aspects of ACRL operations and infrastructure with an outcome designed to implement improvements in the future, including the recommendations embraced by former New Jersey Governor John Corzine and a plan for remediating the age-related deterioration of the Blair Bridge. Despite the negative perception in some quarters concerning ridership numbers associated with the ACRL, passenger rail service makes a valuable contribution to the South Jersey region. Employees, tourists, people making discretionary trips to non-casino destinations, and those using the train for a host of other reasons have been and continue to be inconvenienced. ACRL service needs to be restored in short order. New Jersey Transit should stop throwing Atlantic City Rail Line passengers under, or more literally onto, the bus. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Delvin Bradford.
Yeah, hello. My name is Delvin Bradford. I'm here to I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm here to break down the problems and the questions we as passengers have. My questions are: when is Pole Bridge going to be repaired? When is the Hudson River Tunnel going to be repaired? When are you going to put money up for it? We haven't seen number 45 do a damn thing helping out with the situation, which is extremely bad. Where are Governor Murphy's promises of fixing the railroad system? Every single damn day, there's always issues such as power problems, mechanical problems, switch problems, and map power issues. And all that wasn't Obama's fault at all. All right. Ever since Governor Murphy has been in office, we haven't seen any improvements at all yet. Governor Murphy said himself that a month ago that PTC positive train control is completed 100%. My question is, why the hell is there a cab car in front of the locomotive? Why are there still canceled trains? Speaking of a suspension of service of the system, my huge question is, when is the Atlantic City line coming back? The line was down since September 2018. In December, you said trains will return in January 2019. Now you pushed it to April. Why the hell is that? One man from South Jersey, one of my group members, said himself that PTC was completed in November 2018, which is very surprising. We have not seen a damn train being tested yet. Why is that? Why can you borrow 21 more cars and borrow 4 Amtrak locomotives? These are the shortages. Just like in 2016, when the Civil Line files were out. You only borrowed 8 more cars during the summer, and they took them back. You have not used all 7 locomotives that SEPTA gave you, and it's still in the Mooresville yard. The Philly and South Jersey commuters are tired of taking the bus, driving, and riding Paco every single day. You ignore the sign position signs that one person did for all of us. You did not care about the South Jersey community. The Atlantic City line is the most reliable railroad of transportation Jersey Transit has. My question is, why need the federal government's permission to operate the trains again? Who does that? Who? While you're at it, return the Ransom Valley line in New York City again. No one in the United States needed the federal government's permission to operate a railroad line. I knew it was bullshit. When I've read it ever since, Governor Murphy took over. When Governor Murphy took over, we as passengers have not seen a damn thing change in the railroad system. Nothing has been fixed yet. One thing I have to say, training some of your conductors on how to speak passengers properly. Like, seriously. Because the only conductors that speak properly to passengers is conductors on the Atlantic City line, the Ransom Valley line, and North Dakota coastline. If you don't like your job, then get the hell out!
Thank you. The next speaker is Donna Valera. Is there a Donna Valera, next speaker?
Good evening. Thank you for having us and thank you for listening to our concerns. I made an investment in the Atlantic City area about 3 years ago. I moved my whole family here. And a lot of my friends from the suburbs of Philadelphia said, "You're moving where? And what are you doing?" And I said, "This is a good place to invest. This is a place to be." And since I've moved here 2.5 years ago, it's proven to me even more that Atlantic City is worth the investment. Invest in Atlantic City, and that's what I have done. I started a small business there. Since I have moved there, my husband was transferred to Philadelphia. So he now commutes every day. He leaves at 5 o'clock in the morning. He gets to the Patco high-speed line, parks, gets on that train, goes into Center City, Philadelphia, and then walks to his office. It takes him 2 hours, at least. And that adds 4 hours to his day. It is not healthy for our family. There is a lot of economic advantage to bringing people to Atlantic City and having people commute back to Philadelphia for jobs and living in Atlantic County. We need this rail line. We need you to really take a look. I know you all have your challenges. Everybody does when you're running as large an operation as you're running. But this is very, very important to us. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is James Rosen.
To follow up on the last speaker, my wife has been a commuter on the New Jersey rail line for 14 years. Day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, from originally Atlantic City, then Absecon, into Patco, and then her office is not far from the end of the line at 16th and Market in Philadelphia. I am a part-time commuter. My office happens to be on the other side of Philadelphia in Montgomery County. So my travels, which are only part-time this time of year because I'm an accountant, it's an hour ride in the car, a ride on Patco, then another train just to get to my office. So, the problem in our family is that we've been impacted significantly by no train. I mean, life was simple and easy to navigate on a daily basis for both of us. Now it's a call somebody, text somebody, talk to somebody, who's driving today, who's driving tomorrow, where are we going to meet, what are we going to do, besides 80 miles round trip in the car and an hour each way to begin with, it becomes a very challenging commute. Her day now starts at 4:30 in the morning instead of 5:30 in the morning to go to work and back every day. The shuttle bus service that New Jersey Transit created, the timing of those buses are awful. She has to get up easily an hour, hour and a half earlier than normal just to get a bus. Half the time you don't know if it's going to show up. Half the time it's broken down. About a week or two ago, she was left stranded at the Patco station in Lindenwold because the bus never showed up. Just, a problem of convenience, I guess, but it's not really convenience. It's a lifestyle. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is J.R. Cabri.
Good evening. Like some of the other folks, I chose to move down to Brigantine, New Jersey, knowing I had to commute to Philadelphia because there was the Atlantic City rail line. And without it, understanding there's equipment issues, understanding there's engineer issues, it would have been better, in my opinion, to have had some express service with maybe 3 or 4 stops along the entire route. It would take you directly to 30th Street Station, because from there, I connect out to Paoli on SEPTA Rail, or some days at St. Joseph's University on SEPTA Bus. To have to take multiple changes, and hopefully the buses are there in order to make the same trip, has added, 3.5 to 4 hours to every one of my days as well. And, the impact that it's having, it's caused me, as you may have noticed, with some difficulty even to walk here. I've got some nerve damage in my leg. So not having end-to-end transportation is a real major setback for me. And really appreciate restoration and service as soon as you possibly can. Appreciate the chance to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Nicholas Pittman.
Good evening. I come before you this evening representing thousands of South Jersey commuters who can't be here with me tonight. I'm going to cut to the chase and not mince my words. I want to make our frustrations and our dissatisfaction with New Jersey Transit very clear. You may think your empty promises ring hollow and are meaningless, but your decisions and inaction of getting the line up and running has had detrimental impacts to over 2,000 commuters who rely on this service. Director Corbett stood in Atlantic City and told us that trains would resume operation on January 1st. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting your cell phone conversation over there. That date came and went. No train. No train to Atlantic City, no train to Philadelphia, no train along the line anywhere. We were then told perhaps January. That turned into maybe February, and now as it stands, it might take until June, as I understand it. If you would have been forthcoming from the very start, I think we would have understood the situation. Now, we all know the suspension of the service of the line has nothing to do with PTC installation. We've been over this many times. No line in the country, or therefore the state, has ever been suspended or seen the same fate as the Atlantic City line. And the SRNJ, the freight service that goes from Winslow Junction to Atlantic City, remained intact and uninterrupted. PTC installation was completed in late November, but it took you until January to come up with another excuse blaming the federal government for the shutdown, for the delay in saying the FRA had to inspect the line and the equipment. It came out nearly 2 weeks ago that that was a lie, and the FRA said on record, as reported by Bloomberg, that you could restore the service at any time you want it. So why aren't you? In addition to your obvious mismanagement of the system, I want to point out a couple factors regarding your fiscal irresponsibility. So I have to ask this question. Why were locomotive engineers reassigned to North Jersey lines, but conductors still continue to work on the line? We're told that they're helped to guide passengers on the buses, but am I really going to believe that after 6 months we have passengers that don't know the train isn't running? And then furthermore, a lot of these employees, a lot of these conductors make over $100,000 a year. Think about that. And they're getting paid for the assignments that they were on prior to what they're doing now. So some of them are making 10 hours of overtime a week. Some of those jobs include fueling a train that's invisible and non-existent. Talk about fiscal irresponsibility. Keeping along those lines, I want to talk about the 7 locomotives leased from SEPTA. Now, these were PTC-equipped locomotives, okay? We understand that there was a deadline, late December. You know, they're paying $350,000 for 7 locomotives that are sitting in the yard in Morrisville collecting rust. Now, I understand that they might... Yes. Thank you for the support. So, these locomotives, while they're not compatible with the train line system of your current equipment, which I have to ask why you would seek out locomotives that weren't, properly equipped. They are continuing to sit there. They can be used as cab control cars. They can be used to lead trains. There's 7 of them. We only need 4 for the Atlantic City line. All right? Now look, I'm not speaking out of anger. That never gets anybody anywhere. I'm speaking out of sheer frustration and utter shock that you believe that there are people out there that will eat up your disinformation and take it as the gospel. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. We need our train service restored. We need an improved schedule, and we need you to recognize that South Jersey does exist. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Elizabeth Schuck. Elizabeth?
I wrote this down so we could be expedient. This is my second opportunity to speak regarding New Jersey Transit's decision to suspend service on the Atlantic City Rail Line. As I have stated previously, this has created a severe hardship on my family. My husband, who is a locomotive engineer since the line was reopened in the late 80s, has been forced to work 80 miles from our home. Not only do we have to live separately, we have to pay double to live. We need to keep the owner of the place that he rents apprised of how long he needs to stay. And since New Jersey Transit won't let him know when the line will be reopened, he can't tell his landlord that. This is not a sustainable way to live for anyone. New Jersey Transit's initial lying of why this line was closed and their continual determination to pile more lies about why they are not reopening the rail line should result in someone being fired. For almost 6 months, a variety of lies spoken by New Jersey Transit has been exposed, and yet this entity is allowed to continue on without consequences. I request that New Jersey Transit immediately announce a date to open as there has never been a truthful reason to close this rail line. And one last 2 questions I have for you. Why am I appealing to a board who has been as silent about New Jersey Transit's actions as New Jersey Transit has been? And what is your purpose, if any, to help resolve this this mess? Thank you for listening.
Thank you. The next speaker is James Curcio.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing from us. My name is James Curcio. I'm from Hamilton, New Jersey, and I believe the decision that was reached in September to suspend service was not reached on an adequate factual record, and I think that the decision has been extremely damaging to our region. You've heard from individual commuters, but also to the economy of the whole of Atlantic City and every town along the line to Camden and Philadelphia. The beautiful station that is built in Atlantic City adjoins the convention center, and we are in the convention season. It's a sickening sight to see it lay idle. I'm sure it is to all of you who are rail advocates, or you wouldn't be here. That station was a hub of activity. We had a car show last weekend, and we're going to have the boat show coming up soon. I've been there when those trains empty out for the boat show. There are a tremendous amount of people that are coming in. What are they doing now? Are they driving cars, or are they not coming at all? We really don't know. But it's tough to train people, to teach people to use the rail line, but you have to create a culture of ridership. And we can't get there by suspending service. It takes everything down to zero. Atlantic City produces a lot for the state, but we need support from every state agency, especially to get our visitors into the city. Thousands of people were coming every week on the trains. Now they aren't coming. So this needs to be taken care of. I looked at the list, and I know you have 8 different lines. This is just one of them. But if you had, I think of a family, if you had 7 healthy children and one is in the hospital, certainly the 7 that are healthy you'd pay attention to, but your number one priority would be to get that sick child well again. Now, honestly, I believe you made the child sick with your actions, but now you need to make him well. And I think that what you have to do is make this a priority, please. And this is what we're urging you to do. Give us a definite date and set a timeline, because it has been extremely damaging to 2 of the poorest and most poorly served counties in New Jersey, which is Atlantic and Camden County. So please get that line back up and running again for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Kevin Miller.
Okay, so I remember, anyways, my name is Kevin Miller. I am from Bedford, New Jersey, and I am one of the Atlantic City Line's biggest advocates and fans. I've had some of the best memories of my life on this train, whether it be going with my friends to Philadelphia or Atlantic City, or just going to Atlantic City or other points on the shore for fun. But anyways, I noticed that I was going through my notebook again, and I noticed that a lot of the points that I had back in August are still valid. Okay, so from what I understand, about 3,000 people use the line daily for work, and that's not counting people who are going to conventions down the shore, on a day trip, which that's a primary demographic of the line, like vacationers, because Atlantic City is a resort town. And Atlantic City has been making a comeback in recent years, and I fear that this will severely hurt Atlantic City, because other than sitting in the Parkway traffic, getting to Atlantic City means taking the Atlantic City line. And another bit of an issue that I raised with is the reduced fares. the proof of this is on my laptop right here. And something I brought up is that the price for using a New Jersey Transit ticket without the reduced fare is $5.25 from Lindenwold to 30th Street Station in Philadelphia. And with the reduced fare, it's $4. But that only gets you as far as 8th and Market, and it doesn't include the Market Frankfurt line transfer that would be needed to get to 30th. And I actually have video evidence of the fares in action. Hold on, let me see. God, I wish I built this up. All right, so let's see if my laptop is visible on the. No, it's not. All right, well, bottom line is you can access the entire PACCO system for $3, and that includes getting to 15th, 16th, and Locust, the line's terminus. But with the New Jersey Transit ticket, you're paying more for an inferior product. And another point is I actually wrote down everything I said to the board of directors, including Greco, Corbett, and Sincaglia. I noticed that I put a star next to it. The return deadline. You promised me the return deadline would be in January, and here we are in February 2019. And something that really got to me was that the equipment used on the line would not be used in North Jersey, which obviously that went out the window, because the engine used on the final train out of AC, which I made an effort to ride, was GP40 PH2B number 4219, and a few days afterwards, sure enough, it was in Newark Penn Station operating a Raritan Valley Line train. And honestly, it just seems like a lot of this was false, pretty much, what I got from talking directly to the board. Also, I noticed that ever since, I want to say October, there hasn't been any equipment on the line where there's actual work being done, but it just seems like the line's just sitting there collecting rust, and it's already showing signs of disuse. As I was leaving on the PACCO to come from South Jersey to here, I noticed that there was rust on the usually very well-polished tracks that are showing signs of disuse, because not a single thing is rolling over it at the moment. And now, I'll admit, I'm more of a leisure rider than a actual commuter, but clearly there's more than just under 1,000 people who are using the line at a time, and those people actually need work in Philly or AC that they need to pay their families with. And even for day trippers, that's frustrating, because we'll have to stick to the buses, which that never, ever, ever works to replace train service. And so I appreciate your time here today, and I must say I really urge that you reopen this line as soon as possible. And one last thing, the line is technically serviced as Amtrak's throughway motor coach to Atlantic City, so this could be disrupting Amtrak service too. So I think it might be wise to it was mentioned earlier, to borrow MARC cars, Maryland's transit agency, or say Boston or Montreal or SEPTAs, like you said. And there are plenty of locomotives that are sitting on sidings in Garfield and on the Lackawanna Cutoff that are not doing anything at the moment, just collecting rust, which could be reactivated and used as control cars if we're having these equipment issues that are so detrimental to the company. So I hope you will take what I said into consideration, and I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you.
The next speaker is Kareem Boswell.
Good evening. My name's Kareem. Okay, my job sometimes takes me to New Jersey. I use the ACL or go to Atlantic City. The reason I need the ACL line open is because you take the 551, Route 551 from Atlantic City Bus Terminal to Greyhound Bus Terminal to Philadelphia. I come all here from Philadelphia. I don't like the 551 service now. I don't know about the shuttle service right now as from Lindenwold to Atlantic City, but I take the 551 a lot. I prefer the train. I prefer the train because the 501 has been too crowded. The whole line, at least from Philadelphia to Avondale Park Route, or literally the whole bus route. I prefer the train open because not just myself, but a lot of the people I know take it. It's more easier and it's more comfortable. You take the motor coach, the 501 motor coach, it's very inconvenient, it's very uncomfortable. I prefer the train because you can relax. Go from one end, any of the stops, to the beach. I'd rather have comfort for everybody. Right now, it doesn't look right. The connection at Penn Soccer Transit Center, that's more easy. Since that has been dormant, I know a lot of people have an option at Walter Rand. That's not a good idea. I prefer the rail line be established that was easier, not just for the people of New Jersey. I'm from Pennsylvania also. We have a lot of people from Pennsylvania use the line also. I like that better. It's more better because I'm a big train fan. I'm a fan of the ACL. I'd rather see that. I'd rather see people riding on trains up and down instead of 551 or the 554. That's it. That's open line, please. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Alan Flournoy-Green. No speak? Okay. The next speaker is freeholder Amy Gatto.
Good evening, Director Corbett. Thank you very much. Chairwoman, thank you. I come armed with, number one, a resolution that was passed last night at our Atlantic County Board of Chosen Freeholders meeting. Public transit is not easy for us in South Jersey, and I, as a former daily commuter to Philly, accepted that and appreciated what we had. Now it's disastrous. And why? We have no clear answers or timelines. And frankly, the letter you sent to us, elected officials, with so-called updates was insulting. It said nothing. You are not only doing a disservice to us, but to the state of New Jersey, who has direct oversight over the recovery and success of Atlantic City. We're working to enhance our convention and off-season business, none of which we can do without rail. In fact, we've heard feedback from many people who say they are not bringing their conventions to Atlantic City because the rail option is not available. We now have students traveling between educational institutions, including our new Atlantic City campus of Stockton University. We're trying to bring new businesses, employers, industry, and access to medical services to our area that needs rail as an option. South Jersey Gas is just one of those employers who recently located to Atlantic City. Now, the only answer that we have from you is possibly second quarter, we'll see the Atlantic City rail line back up and running. Do you know what that is? That's the height of our tourism season in Atlantic County. How are we supposed to bring people down and attract people down when we don't have the rail service available during the height of what is supposed to be keeping us afloat? Finally, one person who came up earlier didn't tell you, they can't drive. They rely on the rail to get to work. They have to take a bike to the bus. Then they have to try to get that bike on the bus to get to another bus that they have to take the bike off of and go on another bus. It's a completely daunting process for someone trying to maneuver that whole system. We need answers. We need a valid date. We need the rail line up and running. Please make it happen. Thank you.
Our next speaker is freeholder John Risley.
Oh, thank you very much.
Good evening, Director Corbett, members of the board, Madam Chair. I couldn't have said it any better. The previous speaker who I served with, Amy Gatto, she's the chair of the Atlantic County Board of Freeholders, and I'm privileged to serve with her. And Mr. Curcio was also a former freeholder, and he spoke very eloquently about this topic. We can't fix the past. I got it. We can't go back. We got to go forward. Atlantic County leads the nation in foreclosures. We are an economically disadvantaged area. People don't make much money in Atlantic County. The casinos don't pay big bucks. People are hurting. That's the bottom line. We've got to get this rail line open as soon as possible. Whatever you have to do, if you have to bring in personnel from other areas, whatever it takes, please get on with that. About 30 of us traveled a couple hours to come here. We left our jobs, we left our families, and a couple hours to go home again. We're here because we're passionate. We're passionate about our county and the people that work there. So please, get this line going. Whatever you got to do, whatever people you need to bring in to make this happen, just make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the list of speakers on behalf of the Atlantic City Rail Line. We'll now move on to our public comments in the general comment period. The first speaker is Gregory Pratt.
Good evening. My name is Gregory Pratt. I've lived in South Orange for over 6 years, and I've been a regular passenger on New Jersey Transit trains and buses for more than 20. For most of that time, I've actually been a steadfast supporter of New Jersey Transit. What brings me out tonight, however, is a situation that I never could have dreamed I'd be in. On the evening of January 17th, I was assaulted by a New Jersey Transit conductor on train number 807 while it was stopped on track 1 in South Orange. My husband and I became involved in an argument with a conductor from that train, which precipitated from a trap door and its associated end door being open on a car that had overshot the end of the platform. Something that I think all parties realized was an FRA safety violation. After the conductor questioned the legitimacy of my marriage, I attempted to take his photo so that I could identify him when complaining about this behavior to New Jersey Transit. Contrary to his written statement, my phone was already out, and he acknowledged as much when he shouted at us to stop taking photos of him on the platform, in spite of this being perfectly legal. When I persisted in trying to take photos, he smacked the phone and my hand so hard that my thumb turned black and blue. That thumb later swelled up so badly I could barely move it on the next day. Naturally, I filed a police report. New Jersey Transit Police Department treated me with courtesy at all times, and I genuinely appreciate that. They also took photos of my bashed thumb, which are part of the official report. But when the officers caught up with the train crew at the Port Morris yard and interviewed the conductor by the name of Nasir Abdul Shakur, he recited his version of events, leaving out crucial details and changing the order of events in a way that makes him appear blameless. He tried to claim that he used a self-defense motion, those are his words, to deflect this mysterious object that I had produced from my pocket with no warning. By coincidence, that night, train number 6431 was running slightly late and pulled into the station on track 3 shortly after our arrival. Witnessing much of this incident was Eugene Ruocchio, a conductor from the other train, which was still sitting in station. He stood on the other side of the platform and watched most of this happen. To my spouse, he just shook his head and said how sorry he was. He wasn't going to intervene, but it was obvious from what he said and his body language that the behavior of one of his colleagues mortified him. Sadly, that didn't stop Mr. Roracchio from forgetting that feeling of embarrassment when he later provided a written statement through his senior road foreman that sounds amazingly like Mr. Abdul Shakur's tale. I have to wonder who might have spoken to Mr. Roracchio before he gave his official statement. In the end, the police had to drop the investigation because there were no other witnesses interviewed who actually saw what happened. Mr. Abdul Shakur is still working for New Jersey Transit, so far as I know, and is still working on that same train. I don't need to remember that. I think about it every time I look at my hand, which still has bruising under my thumbnail nearly a month later. And I'm left wondering if there's something about me and my husband that set him off, or if he could be dangerous to other members of the public. The first thing that my husband yelled out after the conductor hit me was, "Do you realize you just assaulted my spouse?" And the response the conductor shot back in one brief moment pretty much said everything that I needed to know. Do I care? Do I care? Well, I do care. My next move will be to file a third-party complaint with the South Orange Police Department. There were 2 trains full of people that evening, as well as numerous passengers getting off of both of those trains, seeing parts of this incident unfold in front of them. With that many eyes and ears, I'm certain that my version of events will eventually be corroborated. I'll do my part to help the investigation by putting up flyers and using social media to find those witnesses and help shake loose the truth. In all the time I've ridden on New Jersey Transit, I've never seen anyone wearing one of your uniforms do something like this, and I hope I never do again. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sally Geller.
Good evening. My name is Sally Gellert. I'm here today in my personal capacity, though I also serve as Communications Director for the Lackawanna Coalition. I've been hearing discussions of the Northern Valley Corridor as a Rails to Trails project, including biking, walking space, along with light rail. Although the vast majority of rail to trail projects do not return to rail service, some have, and building light rail into the project from the beginning makes total sense as we are ever more cognizant of humanity's input into climate chaos and air pollution. The ability to take bicycles on buses and trains, rightly accommodated in the new train car purchases, to combine modes of transportation is ever more in demand. Such projects are greatly needed as individual cars clog our roads and younger folks are more interested in walkability and transit options than prior generations have been. I am also aware of the proposed Iron and Ice project a bit further afield from my home area, and I would again caution that it be designed in a manner that accommodates current or future light rail on the remaining portions of the tracks. To take a moment to talk about Newark Penn Station, I find it harder and harder to take a break after getting off a train before heading here or another destination in the city. More and more seating is cordoned off. As an arriving train passenger, I don't have a ticket for the gendarmes, so in order to gather thoughts, check schedules, make a call, etc., it becomes necessary to buy something at Dunkin' Donuts for seating privileges. Half of that is now also cordoned off, leaving a few tables in the back. The last time I asked for the Dunkin' Donuts Wi-Fi password, I was referred to the New Jersey Transit Customer Service Desk, where they obviously did not have an answer. You need to improve seating and Wi-Fi coverage. I note that the Port Authority bus terminal is starting new free 30-minute Wi-Fi sessions, a model that would be much more helpful than the 5-in-1's lifetime 24-hour sessions that New Jersey Transit announced some time ago, which I'm afraid to use for fear that I might need them more in the future. Regarding the New Jersey Transit website, please ensure that directions and the map are properly synchronized. Today, directions to a trip in Hackensack suggested the number 165 bus to Satan, Sussex, whereas the map showed the 712 bus to Essex and Newman. I chose the latter as I know the area. Someone less familiar with the area would be very confused. Ongoing issues, of course, are the cancellations of trains, the lack of restorations we've heard of the Atlantic City, the Dinky, the Raritan Valley, one-seat ride. Now the cancellation of discounts, while we are still dealing with canceled trains, non-existent schedules, and the lack of a resolution from Mr. G, who I hope is being resolved. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Steve Thorpe.
Hi, good evening, members of the board, Madam Chair, staff of New Jersey Transit, and audience. I wasn't here last month because I was out in Chicago riding commuter trains just to see how things run on Metro. There's a lot of things. A lot of people from Atlantic City are here, and I want to support them. I was really exasperated to read the first excuse used about restoration of ACRL being the FRA, saying you needed approval from the FRA. I would love to see some good thought go into things when people say things from this dais, especially people that are making statements. If you say that the FRA is prohibiting you from running service and the government is shut down, it looks pretty good. And the average person says, oh, they may be right. But I've asked this board at least 3 times, once down in Atlantic City, to give people an actual date that you can restore service on any line. Now, I live along the Raritan Valley and Northeast Corridor line. When are we going to get direct one-seat service back to New York again on the RVL? We're still waiting. Nobody's given us any kind of dates. The AEM 7 locomotives that other gentleman spoke about cannot be used on the Atlantic City line. I'm going to call them Frankensteins for now. And the reason I'm doing that is I think you just bought those locomotives and leased them from SEPTA not to use them, because I don't think they've turned a wheel here other than to go into Morrisville Yard. I think they were purchased to comply, to show the FRA that, yes, I have 7 more locomotives that are PTC equipped on the railroad. Which works. I mean, hey, they're there. They're there. I mean, you know, you can say that they're there, but they're not useful for doing anything. All right? That's one thing. It reminds me of a song. Now, I'm dating myself here, but there was a famous singer back in the day named Dionne Warwick. And she did a song called Promises, Promises. And that's what we're getting here. Promises, promises, promises. No action, just a lot of promises. I don't think it's necessarily a bald-faced lie, although I can't corroborate it. I just think that you folks don't know what's going on, and there's nothing that can help that. I don't know. I have some other things here. Hoboken Doors. We go to Hoboken a lot, and it's cold there. And sometimes the doors are chained open. Now, I've spoken with the police, and I don't think the police are the ones doing that. I think it's being done for maintenance purpose. And maybe done to discourage the homeless people there, too, because there's a pretty good-sized homeless population there. And I'm not unsympathetic toward them. But, you know, I know that there are social initiatives that have been undertaken to try and help them and stuff like that, but there's got to be a better way than keeping the doors shut. When those doors are open, the wind just blows right through that place like a wind tunnel. And I'm sure if you're using heat, you know, in that place, the thermostats are set at a certain temperature. Well, when it starts getting cold like that, they're going to start calling for heat, and you're wasting energy by throwing it out the door. I had another note here. Atlantic City. When I went down to the board meeting in Atlantic City a few weeks ago, there was no rail service running, and it looked like a ghost town. The station looked like the neutron bomb that Jack Welch had talked about when he was president of General Electric, that it would destroy the people but not the building. It looked like nobody was there. It was eerie. So I'm saying for about the 4th or 5th time now, how about a date, an actual date like April 1, April 30th, May 1, whatever you want to make it that you think you can reach. Let's have a date so that people know. And I also want to support Mr. Russell Grady, because Mr. Grady has been a good friend to me, and I sympathize with his plight. And it's time that we do something, this board does something, because they have the power to help Mr. Grady. I've even called Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver's office and spoke to her about it. And she's aware of it. I know Governor Murphy's aware of it. It's time that we do something. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tim Sevener.
Hi, I'm Tim Sevener from the Transit Village of Mount Tabor. I'm here representing as the board of New Jersey Association of Rail Passengers. And I gave you all you guys information. This is critical to everybody here and to the whole planet. The IEA, the International Energy Agency, has come out and said we have to expand rail. Now, the International Energy Agency is very much establishment. Peak oil theorists have been very critical of them because they're always giving optimistic projections how we're going to keep burning oil forever. But this is very important. Now, in this state, what's also very important, I also gave you a copy of the Vision 2020 under the direction of Executive Director Jeffrey Warsh in 2001. Of all the rail that we could restore in this state. We have to do this. I also gave you copies. Rethink NYC is also advocating light rail, and the Regional Plan Association, which is another very influential establishment group. Now, in order to do that, we have to make sure that there's a lot of groups that are saying, oh, the High Line is great. Let's make this abandoned rail a bike path. I'm a bicyclist. Today I didn't ride my bike here because of the snow. But ordinarily, I have my folding bike and the train. Those two are a great combination. What we have to make sure is any trails along abandoned rail lines have to preserve the rail. We need them for this expansion, which is critical. For an example, the Hudson-Bergen, which has never gone to Bergen yet, but will, could only proceed because the rail right-of-way was preserved. If that was a bike path, you would get all kinds of people screaming, you're taking away my bike path, blah, 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 blah. They can coexist. As I rode the train here, and Kevin sees this every day probably, along Convent Station, there's the two tracks, and then there's the path. The path is about 20 feet wide. That's all. The trains, two tracks, take about 20 feet. The standard road size is 30 feet in my town of Parsippany. So therefore, we have to make sure no paving over rail rights of way where the rails need to go for bike paths. The bike paths, it's perfect to go next to the rails. That way what you can do is, if you want to do recreational biking, I ride as far as I can get. If I'm tired, I go to the next light rail station, I come back. If I want to go hiking, I take a light rail to maybe New York State, which is possible in the future on abandoned rails that we have available to use. And then I go hiking. No driving on a backcountry road where there's an overloaded parking lot. You can't even park there. Instead, you take your bike or you just hike. You take your stuff to the place you want to hike. You get on the light rail. You come back. We have to be serious about this. This state, we have the potential. We should be the green transit leader. We don't have the issues of California. California, thanks to the Great Trolley conspiracy, Los Angeles lost their fantastic streetcar system. We still have rail rights of way, which fortunately in this state have been preserved till now. We have to continue to preserve those and then act to put, the idea is light rail plus bike trails next to them. That's all I had to say. But this is also, this is very important for the planet, for greenhouse emissions. Auto addiction is the #1 source of greenhouse emissions in this state, which is, there's no reason for that. Only 6% of people in this state take transit to work. But a vast majority due to New York City. We need New Jersey transit. And that's what this is outlined in Vision 2020, which is next year. Back in 2001, we have to get serious about this. That's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is David Peter Allen.
I see you rearranged the deck chairs on the Titanic again, and now you're not forcing me to stand with my back to our constituents, so thank you for that. Good evening. I am David Peter Allen, an attorney of the state of law of the state of New Jersey and chair of the Lackawanna Coalition. I will make part of my statement today in a personal capacity, and I will let you know when that part begins. I compliment management on getting over the latest hurdle concerning PTC at the end of last year. It was a close call, and we know it. There should now be sufficient time between now and the end of next year to implement the rest of PTC on a reasonable schedule. As soon as the FRA gives you the sequencing order concerning it, we expect to see that order, so we will know just how much train service we must continue to sacrifice until the PTC installation is complete. We continue to suffer under a reduced schedule. None of the service cuts that you implemented, purportedly because of PTC, have been restored. There are still no trains on the Atlantic City rail line or the Dinky. There are no trains between Summit and Gladstone on the weekends. There are no trains to Penn Station, New York on the Raritan line. On the Morrison-Essex, Montclair, and other lines, we are still forced to endure the service reductions that have plagued us over the past several months, even though New Jersey Transit has successfully completed the 2018 PTC requirements and has almost 2 more years to finish the job. On behalf of our constituents, we express our deep outrage that not a single train has been restored to the schedule and will not be until at least April, and that the 10% discount that our riders got for their pains has been suddenly revoked last month. As I have said in other contexts, this fare is unfair. I acknowledge that I have always questioned the requirement for PTC. Still, I have no choice but to accept the fact that you have no choice but to spend the money and install it. Now that you have reached this stage, you no longer have PTC as an excuse for refusing to restore every train that you removed from the schedule on the M&E and every other line, including the Dinky and Atlantic City. Unless you have intentionally withheld important information from us, the riding public, there is no reason why you should not be able to restore every one of those trains and services within 10 days from today. My friends in South Jersey, we stand with you. My friends on the Raritan line, we stand with you. Mr. G and his friends, we stand with you too. We hear one excuse after another about why we must wait at least until April and maybe until the end of June to get any of our trains back. Let's face the fact, the problem is you can't get enough engineers to run even the current reduced schedule. So you keep annulling trains randomly, so we never know whether or not our train will come to pick us up. If I am right about that, then even by your own reckoning, we could be stuck with that uncertainty caused by those annulments for the rest of this year, if not longer. It is time to level with us, your riders, and admit that the engineer shortage is the problem. You have run out of other excuses. If I am wrong, I must insist that you set the record straight with the facts now. We want the facts, and even more, we want our trains. In the interests of getting those trains back as soon as possible, I will make the following offer in my personal capacity. I am a state-certified mediator and have been since 1980. All of you managers and some of you on the board know me. The union officials know me too. I hereby offer my best efforts to both sides toward resolving this situation and getting our trains back. I make this order pro bono publico, which means without compensation and in the public interest. I make this offer on behalf of our constituents who ride your trains and who have suffered far too long with inadequate service. I announce to both sides that if you wish to accept this offer, I must know that in time for us to complete a best effort to resolve this situation within 30 days, which means by the close of business on Friday, March 15th. I cannot guarantee my continued availability for this initiative after that date. Our constituents, the rest of your riders, and I eagerly await your prompt response.
Thank you. The next speaker is Bruce Bergen.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Director, good evening. My name is Bruce Bergen, and I am Chairman of the Raritan Valley Rail Coalition. For those who don't know, and I believe most of you do, the RVRC was created in 1998. It's a nonprofit, bipartisan group, and it was formed to advocate for the one-seat ride on the Raritan line. But we also are concerned about other long and short-term goals for not only our line, but for the rail riders all across the state. I want to thank you for the many positive things that have gone on in the last year, both by you and the governor, to help fix some of the neglect that went on for 8 years of our rail service. We know that you've fulfilled your first obligation at the end of last year on the positive train control, and that's a good thing. We know there's also more to be done. As you probably know, and it's been mentioned a couple times this evening, what we're most concerned about at this point is putting the one-seat ride, the limited one-seat ride trains that we had back in service. And I want to thank the Executive Director for his letter of February 11th, responding to the letter from myself and Union County Freeholder Chair Betty Jane Kowalski. But unfortunately, your response didn't really tell us what we wanted to know. And it does raise some concern for me that your letter says that, as New Jersey Transit has communicated, our goal is to begin restoration of services, starting with the Princeton branch and the Atlantic City Rail Line in the second quarter of 2019, which leaves me to wonder if that means that the Raritan line is going to be sometime after that, as opposed to at the same time. And I would suggest that the one-seat ride, and I don't in any way minimize the harm being done in Atlantic County, but the one-seat ride is very important to our riders, and we hope that this body will continue to work on restoration across the system and not start in some places and leave others, particularly our line, to be added back later on. I want to mention a couple of other issues. The Rail Coalition did send a letter back at the end of December to the Coast Guard, urging them to make changes in the rules for opening the Portal Bridge. And we hope that this body will continue to press them in that regard. As you well know, it's now acceptable to, on 1 hour's notice, to open the Portal Bridge during rush hour. And then if it doesn't close, it's a disaster. Certainly, there's no reason that there can't be 24 hours notice prior to opening the Portal Bridge, never opening it during rush hour. There aren't that many boats that go through, but the ones that go through and cause problems cause massive problems. So we continue to press on that issue, and we hope that you will as well. On a short-term nature, we have a concern that in many of our stations, particularly on the weekends, the waiting rooms are closed. Trains are sometimes late, trains are sometimes canceled, and it's cold out there. So we hope you'll consider looking at whether there's some way to have some of those waiting rooms open on the weekends when it's not commuters, but it's certainly people, many people going into New York City for recreation, and that does cause a hardship. And finally, of course, we continue to press our state and our national governments to continue and to push ahead with the Gateway Tunnel. We know that, of course, this body is supportive of that, but in the long run, many of the problems that exist on our line can be solved by adding another tunnel. Thank you again for your time, and thank you for everything you've done. We continue to look forward to working with you moving ahead.
Thank you. Next, we have a group of 5 speakers on behalf of Russell Grady. The group has elected to have the first and last speaker provide comments for 5 minutes. All other speakers will have 2 minutes. The first speaker is Errol Kerr.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Executive Director, board members. I must say that I stand in solidarity with the commuting public, those folks who came up and spoke about their particular issues they're having with the New Jersey Transit of New Jersey. You know, as I sat there and I listened to the different complaints being made, I just wondered if there is serious note-taking is made, because month after month, as I come representing Mr. Grady, I keep on hearing the same complaints, unresolved matter, month after month. Now, New Jersey Transit is a public company, and we, as part of that public, need to know that the people who are in charge of this great corporation is doing their job and doing it well. However, the purpose why I'm here this evening is to represent Mr. Grady and his struggle with the New Jersey Transit. Now, and this struggle has been going on since 2004. I believe the board is empowered to make a change. And if you don't believe that you're empowered to make a change, I believe you do not know the scope of your job. You're empowered. This gentleman was driven out of a livelihood. He was not able to maintain his standards of living because he invested in New Jersey Transit and they derailed him out of his business. He suffered. And during the course of that, he lost his wife. And as I mentioned to you before, part of that strain was carried by his wife, and that affected her. And I think none of us sitting here, sitting there, would welcome that on our family. So he has suffered greatly. Now, you know, it was Martin Luther King who said, justice delayed is justice denied. Mr. Grady is denied justice. He has been denied justice for quite some time now. My appeal to this board is that, you know, we understand, but 15 years is long enough for us to make a decision. And we can't make him whole. We can't make him whole. He has lost so much that all we can do is to give him some semblance of justice. I think it's time, and I appeal to you because you have the power. Mr. Grady is not a young man, and He's been coming here faithfully every month, appealing to your good graces when it should not be. It should not be. This is a matter of his rights as a human being, a rights as an American citizen. He needs to get the same kind of justice that anyone else in the society, race, color, creed, supposed to get, by virtue of the fact that he does the right thing, he's an American citizen, a respectable man in his community. He should be entitled to that justice. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Donna Nelson Ivy.
Oh, thank you. You are looking at a very tired Donna Nelson Ivy. You can tell, right? I've been up since 3:30 this morning, doing some work, and then it just, drank a cup of coffee, mistake, and then it was nonstop. But I love this man. So I'm here, I'm up, I'm awake, and I need to make sure that you hear my voice one more time. I understand and prayerfully understand that we may be close to positive resolve, and that would be wonderful, not only for us, but certainly more wonderful for Mr. Grady than anybody else. That's what we do it for. He mentioned to me, he said he really wanted us to come tonight because of Black History Month, because we have such pride and such honor in our history. And I want to kind of lighten it up a little bit because I think you guys are really close to making a deal. I mean, I really feel that in my bones. But I went to I have a 7-year-old granddaughter, and I went to hang out with her for the day, and I saw my son. I said, put Netflix on. I want her to watch Kevin Hart. He looked at me like I was crazy. Kevin Hart, really? No. It's a Black History Month special with him and children. And if you all have children, and if you all want to help to educate your children in terms of our culture and where we came from, please make a point of watching it. It's entertaining. It's really very good. Then I heard a change. Now, a change is going to come as Sam Cooke. You all know who he was. Well, Netflix is doing a really good job with Black history, I might add. Watch that. Sam Cooke's life is incredible. And you will also get to see and feel and sense the things that, the events that we have had to come through, endure, in order to do what we need to do and what we are doing. Both of them are really very good. I do highly recommend. Do not have any stock in Netflix, but those programs are really good. And again, I'm here to make sure that you hear us, and I know you do, because I said, in my bones, I'm feeling it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Winifred Harrison.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to say in regards to Mr. Grady, he's been in Patterson for many years, and he has been doing a wonderful job. But for numerous years, he has been neglected, and he has been humiliated through representation that made these decisions prior, and is no longer presiding in the seats that you are sitting at this time. Mr. Russell Grady is a very kind-hearted man, and he has made a great impact in the city of Patterson, and he would have done that, I believe, in Atlantic City as well. And refusing to reopen or replace his finances is very unfair to him and to his family. And even though Mr. Grady is thriving in Patterson, we believe he could have made a greater difference in New Jersey. Let's be honest and sincere about the decision of Mr. Grady. Would you have wanted this for your father, for your brother, for your mother, or for your son? Let's be honest and let's honor Mr. Grady and give what is due to him. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Janet McDaniel.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Director, and of course, the valuable audience. Many of your speakers tonight have come here and they have spoken about the severe consequences of shutting down various lines. And they've talked about the consequences of that and the devastating impact on the economy and their quality of life. This reminds me of a speech that Dr. Martin Luther King gave. And he talked about in 1963 the fierce urgency of now. Everyone here has addressed the fact that you need to do something now, not tomorrow. You need to do it right away. I heard my colleague, Mr. Carr, talk about injustice or justice delayed is justice denied. Mr. G has been facing a challenge with New Jersey Transit that really goes back beyond 2004. He's had numerous run-ins, should we say, and court appearances that involve New Jersey Transit. But I heard one of the gentlemen say earlier, I think it was Mr. Curcio, that you can't go back. And you were not here during those times, but you are here now. And you have the power to do something about this. I heard another gentleman talk about his experience on one of the lines where he and his spouse ran into some difficulty. And he asked, do you care? Do you care? I believe you're caring individuals, but I believe that some of you haven't had to be commuters, and therefore you have not ridden. I'm not sure if that's the correct grammar, but you have not taken the trains, so you may not feel the pain that some of your speakers talked about. You haven't walked in the shoes of Mr. Grady. Yes, this is Black History Month, and we know the trials and tribulations of our race. But Mr. Grady took the nerve to venture into an area that was uncharted. He was going to have a #1 restaurant at New Jersey Transit. The nerve of this then elderly, although even more elderly now, like myself, gentleman to decide that he was going to go into that turf. And there were all kinds of obstacles. But what we're saying to you today is that you need to do the right thing. Do the right thing, Spike Lee? You've heard of him, right? Do the right thing. Make Mr. G as whole as you can. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Russell Brady.
Good evening, Board. Black History Month. We are making history. This is our 3rd year here, where we are told this story over and over again. I want to pause for a minute and thank all the people who have supported me. Some of you in the audience, I'm sure you have sympathy for what had happened to me. And sometimes when you hear the story, you think maybe I'm here fighting for something, asking for something that I do not deserve. That's not true. what we're asking for and asking you to do, we deserve that. I've told this story before, I'm going to tell you again. I was a well-off, successful African American operating in the bus terminal. And I went there on your request, on RFP. I bid at everybody else. It was obvious that you didn't want me there, but I succeeded. I got through all the obstacles, the bonding and everything. Running a business, successful. You knocked on my door and said, listen, we're going to relocate you. And you made a promise. If you give me your keys, let me move your equipment out, we are going to relocate you from this spot to that spot. I got over $1 million invested in your property that you requested. Okay, I would let you move me from this spot to that spot. Situations made where the contractor that you had engaged to relocate me, we came to an agreement. The contractor said, yes, I will relocate you next door. Email went out to New Jersey Transit. We'll come to an agreement. That was on the 7th, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 4:29 the following day, New Jersey Transit email. I don't agree with your settlement agreement. Matter of fact, I didn't even give you the authority to come to an agreement. You looked at that email and said it didn't mean anything. New Jersey Transit didn't say they didn't want you there. Why should you say, I don't want that black man there? You're going to send an email down and say, I don't agree with the agreement. And that's what you did. After I had given my keys and given you permission to move me out, that's when you disagreed with what was going on. You sent me invoices. I had a lease. You sent me invoices. I paid my responsibility. I had borrowed money from EDA, $300,000. I still owe them $200,000. I had to pay that bill because I had put my personal property up to secure that loan. Those 2 loans I had to pay. For 2 years, without having any access to that property, I paid those bills while you accepted them. Okay? Went to court, created another entity. I'm already paying 2 bills. Went to court, had to pay a lawyer. Why was I in court? I had no business being in court. You drove me there because you knew that was a territory that you controlled. And you did it. Okay? You got help to do what you did. I won't go into that now, but you got help to do what you did. Yes, I am on record. Listen, folks, I am on record. Accepting what I thought was a settlement agreement that was going to give me at least $1.3 million to go back in my business. I was trapped on the record. And Mr. Snow refers to that. Oh, you on the record. The court said you before the judge. Sure, I was before the judge. A little black African American sitting there with all these big white men. I'm paying them lawyers and paying you at the same time. I was trapped on the record. When I find out what I had agreed to, Eliza $183,000 to go back in, and it said, listen, you pay your rent. You paid your rent for two years. You keep paying it while you do construction. Okay? You go back in and put a restaurant in on the same level as you had before. We're going to do you a big favor. We're going to give you $183,000 to do with it. What kind of justice is that? Please tell me, what kind of justice is that? That's not justice. And I'm not here begging you to do for me. I'm here commanding that you give me my money back that I put in that property that you requested. And I'm telling you, until you could tell me something else, you did it because I was a black man, a successful black man. And we have few of those in those days, still have few of those. And you took it away from me unjustly, unfairly, and I'm here demanding that you
be fair with me. I know there's some discussions going on. I want you to be fair with me so I can get out of your hair, because until you do, I'm going to come down here and make my speech before you, and I'm going to keep doing it until you're decent people. I know you're decent. I know you can do what you can do. I know you can do it. So I'm waiting on you to do it. I'm begging you to do it, because if you don't, we're going to keep coming, and we're going to grow, and we're going to get support from other people who know that it was unjust what you did to us. Thank you for your time. Please, let's keep going with the negotiation and try to get out of this mess that we're in. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further speakers.
There will be no advisory committee report this month. I would now ask Board Member Castillo to present the Customer Service Committee report and the Administration Committee report.
Madam Chair, the Operations and Customer Service Committee received an update on our operations and customer service trends, analysis, and actions for rail, bus, and light rail. The committee also received an update on our social media activities, as well as that report included top trends, topics, growth of New Jersey Transit social media communities, and examples of proactive communications with customers in New Jersey Transit initiatives and marketing promotions. The update also included examples of customer interaction and engagement, as well as highlighted some customer compliments. Additionally, the committee received an update on Access Link operations and customer service trends, analysis, and actions as well on that topic. Lastly, Madam Chair, the committee received an update on cost of service for bus, rail, light rail, and Access Link. As it regards to the Administration Committee, the committee received a financial update. This included an update on our fiscal year and year-over-year operating results, budget to actual comparisons of revenue and expenses, and major operating results. In addition, the committee received an update on headcount, vacancies, and hiring. The update included a review of major balance sheet items such as changes in working capital, outstanding debt, and accounts payable. The update also included an update on ridership levels and revenue. And Madam Chair, that concludes both of my reports.
Thank you, Board Member. Thank you, Board Member Castillo. If I could now ask Executive Director Corbett to present the Executive Director's monthly report.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Board. Earlier today, Chair Scacchetti and I had attended an event at Penn Station with the Governor, along with Amtrak, to highlight our renewed partnership under the Passenger Rail Investment and Improvement Act, or PRIA. This agreement represents a clean slate and a new era with our partnership with Amtrak. All outstanding payments have been made, and New Jersey Transit is now current with all of our funding commitments. As a co-chair of the NEC Commission, along with FRA Administrator Ron Batory, it has become abundantly clear that all of the railroads need to be united and invest in the Northeast Corridor and not act adversarially. When the Northeast Corridor succeeds, we all succeed. That is the premise of PRIA. The PRIA payment allow us to work collaboratively and reliably fund Amtrak, enabling them, for example, to improve the signal and catenary system, the primary cause of delays that have long plagued both New Jersey Transit and Amtrak customers. We will continue the collaborative work to enhance the experience for New Jersey Transit customers at Penn Station, New York, which serves nearly 50 million New Jersey Transit passenger trips every year. That includes improving customer flow through the station, improving the shared waiting area, and adding New Jersey Transit train information throughout the station. In addition to continued infrastructure improvements and enhancing safety, this significant investment and strengthened partnership allows long-stalled major capital projects along the Northeast Corridor, like County Yard and the Elizabeth Station Reconstruction Project, to advance, as well as, of course, the major projects of Portal Bridge and the Gateway Tunnel. I would like to address comments concerning service restoration. We remain fully committed to beginning restoring rail service in the second quarter of 2019, starting with the Atlantic City Rail Line in the Princeton branch, also known as the Dinky. As of last week, we were in Washington with the FRA and expect a full final approval of our application for our alternative schedule in the next few weeks. It is important to note that with the FRA, while they do not dictate our train schedule, until our application is approved, we are subject to a potential tolling fine if there are any changes that are until our actual application is fully approved. So we deem it imprudent to take actions with the risk of having to redo our schedule depending on the final verdict. But that will certainly take out the FRA consideration for restoring our full schedule. We are still contending with locomotive engineering shortage as we continue to ramp up recruiting efforts. A record-setting 6 concurrent locomotive training classes are in session, one of which will graduate this April, with 3 others graduating by the end of the year. On the equipment side, there's a temporary backlog of vehicles, diesel locomotives in particular, awaiting maintenance and inspections. This backlog is a result of NJ Transit staffing resources needed to meet the year-end PTC vehicle installation requirements, and in addition to the ongoing challenges, rail service planners are also reviewing the upcoming impact of Amtrak summer's work at Penn Station, New York. As we get closer to service restoration and our full spring schedule, we'll communicate more specific updates to our customers as they become available. While currently 99% of our 317,000 daily riders are enjoying reliable service since January 2nd, we fully appreciate that if you are one of the part of the remaining 1%, that it's a 100% impact on you, and we look forward to restoring that service as soon as we can do so reliably. On a different item, last Thursday, Governor Murphy joined Chair Caschetti and myself to announce the completion of the 69th Street Bridge in North Bergen. This project, which removes an at-grade crossing over an active freight rail line by having vehicular traffic on the overpass. By elevating the traffic and eliminating interaction of cars and freight trains, it is a major safety upgrade for the region and now significantly improves traffic flow through North Bergen. It is important to note that this was a progress that was allowed to languish for years under prior administrations. Last fall, we brought in a new contractor to take over, and in that short time, I'm proud to say that the work was completed and residents of the regions are benefiting from this increase in safety. New Jersey Transit appreciates the patience that North Bergen residents and businesses have shown during this construction period. Again, I'd like to thank everyone involved in bringing this project to completion. On another note, Hudson Bergen Light Rail, West Side Avenue. On March 7th, we will be holding 2 public hearings in Jersey City regarding the proposed long-term service disruption of Hudson Bergen Light Rail service at 3 stations along the West Side Avenue branch. Due to upcoming utility repair work on or about June 1st by the Jersey City Municipal Utilities Authority, we will be required to temporarily suspend service at West Side Avenue, Martin Luther King Drive, and Garfield Avenue stations for a period of up to 9 months. The Utilities Authority will be conducting extensive underground sewer repair work on a line which runs under the light rail tracks. We will need approximately 2 months to decommission that section of the HBLR, to remove wire, shut down electricity, and remove tracks. During this temporary suspension, substitute bus service will be made available from each of the 3 stations directly to Liberty State Park Station, where customers connect to the regular HBLR service. In addition, substitute bus service will operate between each station to accommodate local travel. We encourage all to attend the 2 public sessions on March 7th. We have alerted our customers of the details on the locations and times, and this information is currently available on our website. New Jersey Transit will continue to work closely with the JCMUA to ensure the project remains on schedule and minimizes the impact on our customers to the greatest extent possible. And lastly, I would like to commend yet another action of bravery and dedication by one of New Jersey Transit's finest. Indeed, this past Sunday, Officer Angelo Saletti was on patrol at Hoboken Terminal when, without regard to his own safety, he jumped in the frigid water to try to save a man. Officer Saletti, will you join us up front? I have a citation I'd like to read. Whereas on February 10th, 2019, police officer Angelo Saletti was on patrol at Hoboken Terminal in the area of the Hudson Bergen Light Rail platforms when he heard a noise that sounded like a splash in the water. And whereas immediately commuters alerted police officer Saletti that a man jumped into the Hudson River from the pavilion area between Hoboken Terminal and the light rail platforms. And whereas police officer Saletti responded to the area where the man jumped from and observed him floating face down in the water and not moving. And whereas police officer Saletti accessed the water rescue equipment contained on the pavilion, removed the ring buoy with rope line attached, and threw it in the water next to the man. And whereas police officer Saletti called out to the man and advised him to grab the buoy, to which the man did not respond or comply. And whereas, without regard for his own safety, police officer Saletti courageously jumped in the frigid waters at Hoboken Terminal and attempted to rescue the man. Now, therefore, be it resolved for his heroic efforts and for his unwavering commitment to duty, we, the Board of Directors of New Jersey Transit Corporation, do hereby recognize Police Officer Angelo Saletti for his bravery and determination to serve and protect all who utilize our transportation system. Angelo? The board members like to come up here for a photo? Where's the chief?
Chief Trusillo, please
Chief
join
Trusillo's
us.
coming up. Yep, he's on his way. That, Chair, concludes my report.
Thank you, Kevin. Can we go ahead and move our action item for this evening?
Yep. I would now like to introduce Mike Kilcoyne.
Good evening. We are recommending approval of item 1902-04, bus shelter purchase and installation of 150 units over 24 months. Authorization is requested to enter into a contract with Handy Hut Incorporated of Clifton, New Jersey, for the purchase and installation of new bus shelters throughout the state of New Jersey at a cost not to exceed $1,440,735, plus 5% for contingencies. Authorization of this contract will allow for the purchase and installation of 150 bus shelters across the state, enabling New Jersey Transit to continue to meet the demand of its existing bus shelter program. Bus shelters are a valued customer amenity, offering seating and protection from inclement weather, as well as a visible indication of an active bus stop. New Jersey Transit installs and replaces 50 to 75 bus shelters annually. While this contract will enable New Jersey Transit to continue its existing bus shelter program, Bus Operations is also exploring options for a future upgraded program, including new shelters or upgrades to existing shelters that feature solar LED lighting and Wi-Fi. Issues that need to be considered are unit cost and availability of program funding, sponsor interest in taking responsibility for upgraded shelters, and sponsors' ongoing operating costs. We are also exploring the feasibility and cost of installing customer waiting shelters at park and rides with the following features: heating and cooling inside the shelter, enclosed waiting areas with automatic doors, interior lighting, and glass walls with a translucent acrylic roof. Major park and rides with high passenger volume require more than a shelter upgrade to improve the customer experience. These shelters would be modeled after those currently in use at the new George Washington Bridge bus station. We ask your approval of item 1902-04.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve board item 1902-04?
So moved.
May I have a second? Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I do have some questions or comments. First of all, Mike, thank you so much for looking at this item in a different way to create, an enhanced experience for our customers. I've been a long time advocate of looking at the bus shelters as a way of, the total experience for our customers. And so I appreciate you looking at the solar and all the other amenities.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm voting yes on this item because I understand that there are, immediate needs. And I do appreciate you also looking at how do we continue to enhance that experience going forward. So looking at, innovative ways to partner with our municipalities to create a more attractive shelter, something that I think our mayors and our city councils are looking for. So I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Board Secretary, could you please take roll call vote?
Roll call vote. Chair Gutierrez Scacchetti?
Yes.
Board Member Caulfield?
Yes.
Board Member Ashmani?
Yes.
Board Member Castillo?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Since there is no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Meeting is adjourned.